the door every single month. So you don't have to look at the stock ticker and say, oh, the stock market's up today, stock market's down. You still got that $4,000 a month, and having that opportunity to take the vacations and do all the fun things in retirement that you always dream to do.
Unleash your wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
AM 560, The Answer. If we want to preserve our constitutional republic, we need an informed and educated citizenry. And that's what this show is all about. Find out what's really happening. It's time to stop the lies and learn the truth. This is The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for listening tonight. Let's just get straight to it. Yesterday, I got a call from a detective, Orland Park detective, by the way, and he told me that a woman had wanted to kill me and that she had made this threat, I believe, during some sort of medical or mental exam. Not really sure yet. I'm waiting to get a copy of the report. And she was very specific. She knew that who I was, apparently. And so they followed up. And they went to her house in Chicago, and she answered the door, and she talked to the police officers again, and she reiterated the threat using different words, but it was still there. And then when they asked her more carefully, like, are you serious about this? She sort of backed away. I'm waiting for the full report. We'll find out what happens. But this particular person is a relative, and I believe it's the mother of Tremaine Harris, who we wrote about at Breakthrough Ideas. And Lori Higgins is my cultural and education writer. And, of course, she did write about what was happening in Orland Park D-135, where the school board voted unanimously to hire 26-year-old Tremaine Harris as the assistant principal of Century Junior High with a salary of $90,000. However, typically, assistant principals, are usually age 32 to 42. This particular guy, 26-year-old, straight out of U of I, only 4 years teaching experience. And even there, their policy is you have to have 5 years. Now, we also pointed out that we pulled off I believe it was his Instagram, pictures of him. There he is, posing effeminately in a photo wearing women's clothes. Lori Higgins, right? He's an unfit role model for children. I agree. Any man who alludes to feminine things and misogynistic foul mouth language is an unfit role model for children. You see, he had a photo on Instagram with the caption, "It shouldn't cost $1 billion to look this C word." And we wrote about it. And then we wrote a follow-up article. And why did we get a follow-up article? Why did we even find out this at first? Because people contacted us because they know we're unafraid to put out the truth after we verified the information. And that's what we did. And so she wrote a second article, Lori did. And this time she told the rest of the backstory about what's happening in Orland Park Junior High School, D-135, School District 135. And she wrote about how in this particular situation, the hiring is very suspicious in that they fired the beloved and former assistant principal who had been doing a great job there. And it sounds like it's out of retaliation. Because you see, that assistant principal had blown the whistle on a sexual harassment case that she was founded to be truthful, that she was sexually harassed by a particular administrator. And they were forced to settle with her and give her position as the assistant principal. So you see, it's a whole hot, corrupt mess now down there. Now, and we're still working to find out more about it, but apparently there's at least one, maybe two people that are being fired over this. Either have already been fired or they're going to be. So we get our information, we get it, we qualify it, we check it out. In this case, when we found out about the sexual harassment suit that is definitely played into the this woman being forced to step aside so that Tremaine Harris, the 26-year-old, could be put into that position. When we found out that whole story, we found out from her. From her. And for that, Tremaine Harris's apparent relative is mad and wants to kill me. Well, we're not going to back away, and we won't be bullied by anybody, and we're going to continue to write. So you can expect more, not less, of this writing. As to what I would plan to do, I'm waiting to see what the police report says, and I will take things into consideration. I've been through this before. It took 3 years to prosecute the man, but we did, and he had a felony conviction. Happy to go through the whole process again if I feel I need to. So there you go. So you see, when you're on the side of exposing the scams going on in the state of Illinois, you come under attack. That's what they do. If they can't beat you down because they've already got all their political allies in position, but you're out there telling people how they're getting scammed, oh well. Oh, well, what do? They'll try and attack you any way they can. Well, people that are on my side and people that I'm on their side, we're having our first Watchdog Road show in Orland Park, September 25th. I hope you join us. And here to talk about that and much, much more and give you a couple more stories are the Edgar County Watchdogs. Yep. They're already online, and they're ready to give us some more reports on what's going on. What's the next scam happening in the state of Illinois? Kirk, thank you for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it, and thank you because I'm really happy that you're going to be coming down with me, and that you actually suggested that we take this show on the road, and we agreed. Let's pick Orland Park. There's so much going on there, not just D135, but apparently, the Orland Park Township is a hot mess. We know that the Fire Protection District is a hot mess, and the village of Orland Park has its own issues as well.
Thanks for having us, Jeannie. I appreciate it. I've come to the
Go ahead.
I've come to the conclusion the state of Illinois is like a dartboard. It doesn't matter where you throw the dart, you're going to score. Corruption is everywhere. There is absolutely no shortage of it anywhere we look, even when we're not looking for it. If you know what corruption is with units of government, you literally can see it right in front of your face. And there's people that they just have no idea that it's even going on.
Yeah, well, I agree. They don't have any idea that it's going on, but gee, if they would just look around a little bit, maybe they would understand. I don't know.
Right.
So you've got some more on this Murdoch Township investigation.
Well, this is one of those we hope that the whole process of how things should be comes to fruition. The real quick backstory, a guy was elected road commissioner. He doesn't live in the district. He claims an exemption in another county. He admitted he resides in another county and claims that owner-occupied exemption on his property tax. He filed a bogus voter registration. We turned all the documents over with a narrative to the state's attorney in Douglas County and requested law enforcement, to investigate it, basically to have them validate what we had uncovered, and put a report together. So we got confirmation that the state's attorney did, in fact, turn it over to the sheriff's office, and they're currently investigating it, which I don't think should take more than maybe a day. But
it's pretty cut and dry.
All that aside, there is going to be a police report, which is good. We'll see whether or not the sheriff's office is capable of identifying and outlining whether something is or is not legal when it comes to local government, because that's not something they normally do.
Right.
We hope to hear back from the state's attorney shortly, Bottom line is, according to the law, the highway commissioner that seat is vacant. The second he moved out of, claimed residency, moved out of the district, the election law says upon the happening, well, his residency changed. So upon that happening, the seat is vacant, yet he is still the road commissioner and is just as defiant as could be, because nobody's going to tell him he has to leave. So we will see how this goes.
So the township supervisor knows, right? The township trustees know that the seat should be vacant.
Oh, they know, and I was told, and I'm waiting on a return call from the supervisor. I was told that they were going to call a meeting and declare the seat vacant, and they would work on an appointment process. Well, it's been 2 weeks, and to my knowledge, that has not happened yet. So I don't know what they're waiting on.
Do you know if the sheriff will also investigate him for voter fraud?
All of the information we gave him included the voter fraud is supposed to be investigated. And so when we get the report, we'll see whether or not we need to write articles about, the sheriff's office and what they did or didn't do. Because let's not forget, just down the road is Oakland. That's where this guy actually lives, Oakland, Illinois. And even though there was all kinds of thievery and corruption going on in the fire department, the sheriff's office only investigated the use of the credit card. They didn't investigate any of the other crimes. So we've got to educate our law enforcement on what local government duties and obligations are, and teach them how to, basically do their job and hold them accountable.
Yeah, I mean, they should go through watchdog training themselves. You could just do a bunch of case studies with them so that they know what to pick up on. I mean, it does feel like so much of the things that you uncover are similar in nature. Right.
Mm-hmm. And after you do it so much, that's why it's so easy to identify it. Somebody will tell us something, and John and I, our heads will snap and look at each other and go, well, they can't do that. That's illegal. But we have police officers that will tell us, well, we don't look at that kind of stuff. That's, you need to talk to the attorney general, or you need to talk to the state's attorney. No, law enforcement is supposed to investigate crimes. It's not just your violent crimes and your drug crimes and DUIs and things like that. Mm-hmm. But, the Illinois Law Enforcement Training Standard Board, they didn't, as last time I checked, they had no curriculum on local government corruption. So if we're not teaching them, how are they supposed to know it?
So if we get a new governor, it'd be great to hire the watchdogs to conduct training and be embedded in the AG's office for this purpose.
We'll keep our fingers crossed on that one.
Okay. All right. Okay, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with John Kraft, Edgar County Watchdog, with some more to report. This is The Real Story with Jeannie Ives. Thank you.
Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft.
That's where I get my news.
Weekday mornings starting at 5.
Listen and learn.
I thought the whole point of MAGA was, for too long, the political class, both parties, has protected itself at your expense, and Trump is going to protect you at the political class's expense. Is that part of the value proposition of MAGA, or do I have it wrong?
Start your day with Chicago's Morning Answer starting at 5 on AM 560. The Answer.
Dan Hut, listen up and listen up good. If you're tired of run-of-the-mill gifts, then get on over to aviatorfuel.com. You'll find unique military-style cocktail books and barware to go with it. At aviatorfuel.com, we've got the perfect gift for any soldier, sailor, Marine, or just red-blooded American. You'll especially love our military cocktail checklists, modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. These award-winning books are authentic replicas, but instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito, written with military jargon throughout. So pick up a cocktail checklist from aviatorfuel.com. Invite some old friends to share war stories over cocktails. Your perfect libation is inside the cocktail checklist. And don't forget matching military-themed barware. Go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
Networks, streaming services, retail chains, and tech giants are all adding plus to their names. But where did the concept originate? We may be biased, but we think these big wigs found their inspiration for Plus at Hasseless Mattress. Hasseless showrooms are employee-free. Give your mattress a try with no pushy sales guy. Plus, our 35 beds from the top 5 brands start at $393. Plus, unbeatable prices on Tempur-Pedic. Plus, free next-day delivery and setup. Plus, free haul away and disposal of your old mattress. Plus, 60-month interest-free financing on select Tempur-Pedic with approved credit. Plus, a $300 MasterCard gift card with your Tempur-Pedic mattress. Plus, a ruggedly handsome spokesman with a smooth radio voice. Get all this, plus a whole lot more when you shop at Hasseless Mattress. Or maybe we should change our name to Hasseless Plus. Nah. Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you or shop online at Hasseless.com.
You're great at protecting your own personal information. You probably even use things like two-factor authentication, strong passwords, VPN. But as much as you try to be in control of how your information is protected, there's lots of places that also have it. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every single second for identity threats. If your identity is stolen, a LifeLock specialist is going to help solve the identity theft issues, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% off your first year with a promo code Beck at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aid.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Well, welcome back. Thanks for joining me tonight. We're still with the Edgar County Watchdogs, kind of doing things in reverse. They usually are last on the show. We save them best for last, but had to accommodate some other guests, so we pushed them to the front, and I'm happy to have them on. It doesn't matter what time. They are always interesting and always have great things to say. John Kraft, you join us now. And you've got a couple stories that you want to talk about pertaining to FOIA, which is really an important tool for taxpayers and residents to know how to use.
Yeah, we can start with Milton Township.
Oh, that's great. That's my home township. Happy to discuss it.
Well, there's
no sacred cows here, by the way. There's no sacred cows. My school district, my township, whatever.
We've noticed in the past several years that some local governments are trying to set up nonprofits and then try for the purpose of avoiding Freedom of Information Act and other accountability mechanisms. And we went through it with the Madison County Veterans Assistance Commission. Somebody went through it with the Madison County Mass Transit, with the Agency for Community Transit. The Attorney General has determined that's a public body, even though it's a nonprofit. And there's steps to determine whether it's a public body or not. Now, with Milton Township, they just came out and told me their food pantry is a nonprofit and not subject to the Freedom of Information Act. But we believe they are.
But so I heard that sometimes they want to do these, we're a nonprofit, because otherwise they don't get access to food bank food. And so this is their workaround, is to create a nonprofit. I mean, honestly, if that's the case, legislators, pay attention, like just change the law. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, donations to local governments for, things like food pantries should be tax deductible, like a donation to a nonprofit, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. So anyway, what did Milton Township tell you?
They said their food pantry is a 501c3 not-for-profit and not subject to the Freedom of Information Act. I was trying to obtain records of the employees employed by the food pantry. Mm-hmm. They claim they had no records. They didn't say they didn't have any employees. They just said they didn't have any records. So then I just sent another FOIA for a whole bunch of other stuff in the food pantry. The issue with this particular food pantry is its business address is the township's business address. the board of directors are all the township elected officials.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the township board runs the food bank.
Yes.
The vehicles have municipal license plates, and they're registered to Milton Township. On their IRS forms, their website is Milton Township's website. Yeah. All of their books are held by the township's accountant at the township.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a nonprofit to me.
They use the township's phone number, and they use the township's buildings. Tell me that's not a public body under the guise of a 501c3.
Oh, I've dropped off food to the food pantry in Milton Township. It's in the actual building. I mean, nobody, I'm telling you right now, nobody in Milton Township thinks that the food pantry is not a government entity. Nobody. They think it's all the same.
It's a government entity. We're just gonna have to prove it to them, and we will.
I'm sure you will.
No doubt about it.
Okay. Great.
The other issue with FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, that's the key thing for watchdogs like us and you. That's how we gain our information and report accurately.
Right. I just had to FOIA my own police report. Not my police report, the police report about me.
Yeah. The Paxton Buckley Loda School District.
Okay.
There was an issue with some students filed complaints that implicated a teacher and coach claiming they were inappropriately touched and attempted grooming while they were attending the schools. A newspaper, the Ford County Chronicle, Will Brumlevy, submitted a FOIA request to the school district for a copy of those records, and they basically didn't give him anything. So he let us know. Kirk Allen submitted the same FOIA request, and we got a whole bunch of extra documents that they never provided the local newspaper. And then turns out last week they gave the newspaper additional documents that they never gave us, and it would have been subject to our FOIA request. And that document was a report, a Title IX investigation on one incident that they said was unfounded, but they didn't investigate the other incidences. So there's 5 students that are suing the school district and this teacher for allegedly inappropriate touching and attempted grooming while they were at the school. But we can't report accurately if all the records aren't provided to us. It's
That's
impossible.
Right. That's right.
And we need to change the FOIA law to make it a financial penalty against the individuals, not the public body, because if it's a public body, then the public has to pay. There needs to be a financial penalty against the individuals that refuse to or are told not to provide the public records under FOIA. I mean, there's no other option. We're out of options.
Yeah, no, I mean, this isn't the first time that this has happened. But it is interesting that typically you get a better response than somebody else FOIAing.
Well, we did initially, and then I don't know why they didn't forward that latest report to us, but it's an old report. It was there and available at the time we submitted our FOIA request. Why they didn't provide it, who knows?
Well, I mean, look, okay, you can give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they felt it was like a personnel matter that wasn't FOIable. Okay, well, we can argue about that, right?
Yeah.
But this is a problem if they obfuscate by not giving you the information. How will you ever know? You only know if you get tipped by somebody else, and somebody else has the document and you can prove it, and then you go before the judge and they support you on it.
And if they say they have, documents number X, Y, and Z that we say are not subject to FOIA, okay, we can argue over that.
That's right,
but
too.
Just not even admitting they have anything else is an entirely different story.
Or not admitting that you have any employees when you know you do. Okay. Hey, that's all we got time for, John. We got a hard break at the bottom of the hour here. We'll be right back. But we're going to talk to Nate Sheets. He is running for Commissioner of Agriculture in Texas. We're going to talk about the fugitive Dems and other areas that concern both Illinois and Texas when it comes to agriculture. Nate Sheets coming up next. This is The Real Story with Jeannie Ives.
Town Hall News, where conservative voices cut through the noise from breaking headlines to fearless opinion. We report what matters without apology. Written by people who actually believe what you believe. Town Hall tells the stories the corporate press buries, from President Trump to Capitol Hill. From pivotal elections to your everyday lives. Join the movement at townhall.com. Real stories, real reporters, real conservative media.
Fox News, I'm Angelo Bavaro. The U.S. is seeking to deport Kilmer Abrego Garcia to Uganda after his refusal to take a plea deal in his human smuggling case. He's awaiting for his trial now.
And he was on ICE's radar in the first place over alleged ties to MS-13. After months in custody, he was released from jail on Friday and is back with his family in Maryland. But it looks like he won't be a free man for long. He was told to report to ICE in Baltimore on Monday and has been notified that they plan to deport him to Uganda.
Fox's Rebecca Castor. Israeli forces continue to advance plans of a promised takeover of Gaza City. There is a ceasefire deal on the table Hamas has reportedly agreed to, but Israel has yet to accept. It's sparking protests once again from families of those Israeli hostages. America is listening to Fox News.
Our local hospitals are the heartbeat of our communities, delivering critical care every hour of every day for everyone, training the next generation of caregivers. Beyond the walls, their benefit to the community is everywhere, driving the local economy and supporting local organizations, initiatives, and neighbors. Illinois Hospitals, healing communities. Learn more at team-iha.org. Sponsored by the Illinois Health and Hospital Association. Aired in cooperation with the Illinois Broadcasters Association and this station.
It was a typical day. You were doing the usual, but then you met up with a friend at Weinstock Market and Lounge in Woodstock. Wow! The small-town charm and turn-of-the-century building set the tone for a classic outing. Their charcuterie pleased your palate like you never imagined. The Chicago beef sandwich made your taste buds dance. And the hand-selected wines from small vineyards around the world, so perfect. All paired with amazing live music. Weinstock Market and Lounge changes your day from ordinary to extraordinary.
Weinstock Market and Lounge, voted McHenry County's best wine shop and best of Fox 2 years in a row. Open Tuesday through Saturday, 3 p.m. till 11 p.m. Live music on weekends. Open mic nights on Tuesdays. Enjoy the fresh baked pizza and Chicago beef sandwiches. Wine favorites from Italy, New Zealand, France, and California. And a full menu of handcrafted cocktails. Plan a trip to Weinstock Market and Lounge on the square in downtown Woodstock. Mention AM 560 and receive 10% off any purchase.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technologies such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
I'm worried about Mom. She's having a tough time moving around the house.
Oh, I know. She still thinks she can do everything on her own.
Exactly, but I've been over there every day this week, helping her navigate the stairs, cooking meals, reminding her to take her medicine. I'm always nervous when I leave.
You know what? I admire you for taking care of Mom. But your family needs you too. And what if she slips and falls? A friend recommended the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. They service Cook, DuPage, Kane, and Will counties. They guarantee compatibility and they'll conduct a free safety assessment of her home. Plus, they'll provide as little or as much care as Mom needs.
Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, offering both hourly and live-in care. Schedule a free assessment today by calling 331-281-0728. That's 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Pluto TV.
Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining me tonight. The phone number here is 312-642-5600 if you want to weigh in on the conversation. Well, August 18th, you saw the recalcitrant fugitive Democrats leave the state of Illinois, head back to Texas, and face the justice that was due them. And so they got their quorum back in order. Texas did, and of course, Texas did pass new maps. This is mid-decade redistricting. While it's unusual, it is not illegal. It's definitely something they can do. The arguments have been made. Ken Paxton was on this show just a couple weeks ago, explaining how Texas has gained 2 million people in 5 years. Illinois only wishes it gained any amount of people in 5 years. We're at a deficit. We're losing people. They're gaining people. I can see the need to do this. Well, that set up quite a stir in California, of course. Gavin Newsom and along with J.B. Pritzker being ankle biters to the Trump agenda on everything and pushing back. And, of course, Newsom acted first on redistricting California. Theirs is a little bit tougher of a way to go, though. They passed a dramatic plan to reshape California's congressional districts. This is according to a KQED report that I'm reading from, to favor Democrats who will appear on the voters and that's the referendum is going to appear in November. So essentially, they rewrote their maps. They think they'll pick up 5 Democrat seats, just as Texas Republicans think they'll pick up 5 Republican seats. They're calling this Proposition 50. It's going to be on the November 4th ballot, and apparently it's set to be a special election. Already, Gavin Newsom has raised millions of dollars to support this effort to get the voters to approve this redistricting. So it's not legislatively done in this case. The voters of California actually have to vote that they want to redo it. So that's where it leads us right now. And fortunately, I've got a Texas Republican here to join me. He is Nate Sheets. And Nate is running for agricultural commissioner in the state of Texas. And that's one of the state's most influential offices. It oversees Texas' $100 billion agricultural economy. Nate is a 5th-generation Texan Navy veteran and a businessman. And he is not the incumbent. He is challenging the incumbent. Nate has also started beekeeping as a hobby and turned it into a business. And Nate, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate you being on The Real Story.
Well, Judy, thanks for having me. Excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so about these fugitive Democrats, just to hit that, and then I want to really get into some of the other issues that deal with the Agricultural Commission. How were they received? What are people thinking about them?
Well, it's about time that they got back here. And I mean, obviously, we all know it was one big, giant political stunt and a waste of a lot of taxpayers' money. But, I think ultimately it was a pointless exercise on their part with a lot of political theater. But good old Barack Obama and his henchman Eric Holder wasted no opportunity, like their good friend Rahm Emanuel says, let no good thing go to waste, to get up there and try to hold a fundraiser and try to raise money for the Democratic National Redistricting Committee, which really in the background, I think Barack Obama and Eric Holder have been plotting all along. So this just really kind of played right into their hands.
Well, we're actually thankful that the the Democrats decided to show up in Illinois because we needed that national attention. We needed the hypocrisy to be on full display because now gerrymandering is essentially a household name. And everybody knows that Illinois is the worst of the worst. And I mean, look, J.B. Pritzker couldn't even defend himself when he went on MSNBC about this issue. So we're thankful. I mean, send him back anytime you want.
Well, send him back. And, when I was in the Navy, we had, if you missed the ship, which when it went underway, if you missed ship, man, you were going to be prosecuted and you were going to be in the brig while your ship was underway. And so, this is just a dereliction of duty. And honestly, I think when they crossed the city line or the state line, Kim Paxton should have grabbed them and held them in the old slammer for a few days to help them really realize the responsibilities that they were shirking as being House of Representatives.
Well, yeah. I mean, actually, nothing came of it. They had a 2-week vacation in Illinois. Sorry. And what do? They showed up at every single union hall up here. So Illinois listeners, look, all these unions are all in for all this chaos and this nonsense. And they were with the private unions, by the way. Okay. Local 150 hosted them in Warrenville or IBEW, one of the two. I can't remember. But anyway, let's get to some more interesting topics. You have a post out that says in Texas, agriculture isn't just an industry. It's a way of life. It's not just about what we grow. It's about what we stand for. And I think that's really a great statement. Tell us why you're running.
So, I feel like Texas farmers and ranchers back in 1980 got 40 cents of every $1 of food share that people ate. Today, it's 15 cents. And so it's a dramatically different environment for farmers and ranchers to be able to be profitable. And the things that have gone up, obviously their top line has not, but all of their input costs, obviously interest and land costs and labor and all those things. And so farmers and ranchers are being squeezed every single year. And in Texas, since 2018, we've lost 68 farming and ranching families every single week. Since 2018, 17,000 farmer and rancher families have left. And, there's a lot of things that go into that. But at the end of the day, it's because it's hard to be a farmer or a rancher and make money. And so that's one part that compels me to want to come in and use my experience to help them be more financially successful. But also, I think people feel like the food that we're eating is getting us sick. And so I have come from the honey industry. I took one beehive in my backyard and turned it into the largest honey company in America called Nature Nate's, #1 brand. And so I know all of the challenges that the farmers and ranchers face. But even more importantly, I come at this agriculture industry from that consumer side of knowing about creating a better for you product, a healthy product. And I tested 100% of all the honey before I'd buy it, and I'd test it again to make sure it didn't have antibiotics and fungicides, herbicides, and pesticides in it. And we need to do the same in all of agriculture and really ensure that we are providing the best, safest, healthiest, nutritious food that we can for all consumers in Texas.
Well, I mean, look, I like my steak more, I got to tell you, but you've got just a whole bunch of nonsense that's getting this funding with tax credits. At least in Illinois, they tried to help fund a company called Beyond Meat, where they make, they try to grow meat in a test tube. I mean, this is disgusting.
Yeah, that's part of the whole globalist
agenda
idea to get rid of beef because it releases methane into our environment. It's insane.
Well, that's not going to go over well in Texas. Texas is the largest producer of cows in the entire country. I believe you have about 15% of the share of beef. And one of these problems that came up, and it came up during COVID, because I also, I have a cousin who runs a fairly large farm in South Dakota, a couple of them actually. And, they're all concerned about the beef that's coming in from Argentina and elsewhere, and then the processing as well. And it seems like U.S. Production is getting cut out, and so are the processors.
Yeah, I mean, today especially we've got this new screwworm, which is a fly that lays an egg on a cow somewhere in his nasal passage or genitals or some open wound, and that maggot drills down and actually eats the meat from the inside. And so we have shut down the border in the United States and have not been bringing cattle in from Mexico. And so that is, we have historic high beef prices right now, both, as a producer, but also at the retail shelf. And so this only makes it more difficult, to the point to where meat packing companies are losing about $280 for every head of animals that they process right now, just because this border's been shut down. So we really need to focus on, getting the new screwworm under control. And it's a process to overcome it. It's called the SIT program. It's sterilized male flies, which then go in and breed with the females, who can only breed once in their lifetime. And so we did this back in the 70s, releasing about 500 million flies a week, and we overcame it. And so there's a lot of factors that go into making the beef industry a big challenge, but it's even more difficult today.
Oh, for sure. So another thing that we're concerned about here, at least some of the conservative state reps I work with, they're concerned about labeling beef products. How is that going to, do you see that coming up under the Trump administration, that they'll force the labeling of where your meat comes from, where it's produced and where it's processed?
Yeah, so, we probably know more about where our clothes come from than where our beef comes from.
Yeah.
And so we've got imported beef that's being processed right here in the United States. It's actually labeled products of the USA. It's very misleading. And so, in the last session, we had about a dozen labeling bills that made it into the House on pork and beef and Gulf shrimp. They've even tried to do it with honey, but none of them have passed. And so, this really matters, because people deserve to know where their food's from. People deserve to have truth and transparency in labeling. And transparency allows Texans to really be able to choose, have the choice of, buying local, and which ultimately helps reward farmers and ranchers, to be able to do their best to produce the best, highest quality beef that they can. And it really builds trust, with the consumers. But as an ag commissioner, man, I'm going to push for clear, mandatory labeling. And if we can't do it as an agency, I'll testify in favor of bills at the legislature. We just had SB 25, which was a truth in labeling requiring any chemicals. There's 40 chemicals that were on a European and the Canadian list that we adopted. And so if those ingredients are in the food, that they have to be on the outside of the package. And so we need more bills that truly make sure that Americans can be healthy again.
Yeah, so you're big into the MAHA movement. Are you working with, Kennedy on this
RFK,
issue?
and yeah. Brooke Rollins, who's the head of the USDA, and RFK have said that, on a state level is where we really need to see states step up and see what we can be done, because, agriculture is so unique to every state and every location. And so we're going to be working hard, not just for, RFK up in Washington, D.C., but really for every Texas family that deserves the best, highest quality, most nutritious food that we can make. And so really doing it so all Texans can be healthy again.
I love it. That's great. Okay, a couple more issues that are near and dear to farmers. I'm just curious how Texas tackles it, because in the state of Illinois, we need to look to other state for best practices, because our Democrat legislature keeps screwing it up. So, how about Chinese ownership of U.S. farms and farmland?
Oh, man, it is such a tragedy that we have allowed Chinese companies and Chinese government to own any land in America. And it's just interesting how they always wind up being near military establishments. But in Texas, we passed Senate Bill 17, which bans individuals and companies, governments, anyone from China, Russia, Iran, or even North Korea from buying or even leasing land. So really trying to protect our agricultural land and our commercial land, all the mineral rights, all of our water rights, and this is going to go into effect, I think next week. And so, why this matters is because it protects Texas food supply and our sovereignty. And Chinese investors, they currently own in Texas 123,000 acres. And that's a drop in the bucket, because the state of Texas is so wide. but that is a huge amount of land. And so, but the land that they purchased has been highly strategic. And so, but once these foreign adversaries own our land, we're not going to be able to get it back. And so we have to shut that down.
Right. I think that's the point. They're foreign adversaries. There's countries of concerns. They're actually on a federal list as such, and they should not be able to purchase our land. Look, you can't go over to China and as an American own a farm. That just doesn't happen. You can't even really own the means of productions there. So, turnabout is fair play. And I'm concerned about it because we have a huge Goshen plant up here in the state of Illinois, and they keep buying up hundreds of acres of farmland around them for expansion, for a protective, border. I don't know, but they shouldn't be allowed to do it. Okay. Yeah. So what about the other concern is, I know, you've got about 15,000 windmills in Texas. You're the largest wind state. And in the state of Illinois, this is butting up against property rights. And I just didn't know how Texas handles that.
One thing in Texas, we want people to be able to use the land that they own and, to be able to have free choice of how they use that. But at the same time, oil and gas have regulations and royalties and decommissioning rules that have oversight as part of, the land commissioner who provides that oversight. But wind projects in Texas really have no decommissioning requirements. And so it really starts to leave landowners really exposed on a long-term basis. And I don't know if you've seen how big these concrete pads are that they bury under the ground. Yeah. Huge rebar.
Yes.
How in the heck you're going to get that out of there and from a long-term perspective? But, again, the Texas Railroad Commission, they have rules making sure that there's proper spacing and safety, environmental protections, and well plugging when it relates to oil and gas. But again, the wind has nobody over that and looking at what's going on. And so, I don't know how farmers and ranchers are going to start to decommission these wind turbines. The one thing that people really don't even think about, if I've got a ranch next door to your ranch and all of a sudden you have a bunch of wind turbines that you put up on your place, you have just diminished the value of my land. Absolutely. And so, this is really a tragedy. As you drive across West Texas, you just see, windmill after windmill after windmill. And so I know we're doing it because we have over 1,000 people a day moving into Texas, and we need reliable power. But, we need to get back to detachable power like natural gas that we can call up 24/7. Abilene Christian University right now is working on a small molten salt nuclear reactor that's going to come online, and it's a test reactor so they can start to produce energy, but it's something that we can replicate. And so from a long-term perspective, we continue to pursue, natural gas, which is a very clean burning natural gas, but then also something like this nuclear and the molten salt, which will really be able to help provide another 100 gigawatts, is what we need here in Texas. And so,
Nate, I will stop you there. I have an expert coming on later in the program on energy because we had a massive energy hearing in the state Senate not that long, just earlier this week. And he said that Texas is building 100 gas power plants and are in the planning. That's 58 gigawatts of capacity, and their potential output will be 3 times what you already have in wind.
Yeah.
I mean, for a fraction of the land space. Hey,
well,
you know what?
The subsidies are immense in oil and gas versus wind. I mean, the wind people get, 211 times more subsidies. So it's incredible.
Right. Well, hey, I want to thank you so much. It's been great talking to you. Good luck in the race. We'll be cheering for you from Illinois here. And we got to let you go, and I got to go to break. So thanks a lot. Nate Sheets, running for Agriculture Commissioner in Texas.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back.
Experience a luxurious summer when you visit Trump International Hotel and Tower, Chicago, a Forbes Travel Guide 5-star hotel. Take in stunning views of the Chicago skyline from the heart of the city, steps away from the iconic Magnificent Mile and the revitalized Riverwalk. Treat yourself to exquisite dining at Terra 16 Restaurant and Rebar Lounge, overlooking the Chicago River and Lake Michigan. Catch the Navy Pier fireworks display from Terra 16's patio on Wednesdays and Saturdays all summer long. Relax in immaculately designed suites that offer the utmost level of comfort. Refresh in the state-of-the-art spa featuring a 75-foot swimming pool, steam and sauna rooms, relaxation lounge, and more. The Trump Hotel Chicago offers sophistication and elegance to downtown Chicago and is a convenient travel destination for your summer getaway. Simply visit Trump Chicago online to make your reservations today and search offers to find the never settle summer stay. Book today.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 Radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
Perhaps you're a collector. Or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donley Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donley Auctions. With their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions, they have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonleyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donley does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donley has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donley Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donley Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonleyAuctions.com.
Don't miss cutting-edge coverage of daily news from an America First perspective on the Alex Marlowe podcast on the Salem Podcast Network.
Everything I'm seeing from the public is that public does not like the idea of just pure welfare and charity being done for people who are able to work and are not willing to work. So able-bodied people have got to get back to work.
Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Rashaw talks about building income in retirement.
You know, you can actually structure it in a way that have that $4,000 a month coming in the door every single month. So you don't have to look at the stock ticker and say, oh, the stock market's up today, stock market's down. You still got that $4,000 a month, and having that opportunity to take the vacations and do all the fun things in retirement that you always dreamed to do.
Unleash your wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right. Thanks for joining me. I only have about a minute here because I kind of went long with Nate Sheets, but I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Listen, if you didn't sign up for my emails yet, please do at breakthrough-ideas.com. The email I put out today dealt with the changing, shifting state standards that ISB is implementing now. So we've got a hot mess when it comes to education in the state of Illinois. Not only do you have these mandated mental health screenings, not only do you have yet another school putting a trans kid on the volleyball team, which is extremely dangerous, which, by the way, I heard that he is now taking himself off, but we'll find out more about that and verify it. But you now also have the state changing the state standards, reducing the cut scores so that more kids appear to be proficient. And they say this is because actually Illinois is scoring higher on their NAEP scores, and so they need to sort of match them up across the nation. That's actually not true. I went through the data. If I got time in my next segment, I'll go through that again. But after this break, we're going to have State Senator Terri Bryant in. She was the minority spokesman on that hearing.
Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
Deportation dispute. I'm Angelo Bavaro, Fox News. Wrongly deported Maryland man Kilmar Abrego Garcia, accusing the Trump administration of trying to force him out of the country after being released. Fox's Rebecca Castor.
He was mistakenly deported to El Salvador earlier this year. He was brought back in June, but is still waiting to face trial in Tennessee on human smuggling charges, and was on ICE's radar in the first place over alleged ties to MS-13. After months in custody, he was released from jail on parole Friday and is back in Maryland with his family. But it looks like he won't be a free man for long. He was told to report to ICE in Baltimore on Monday and has been notified that they plan to deport him to Uganda. Abrego Garcia's attorney says they will fight this tooth and nail and claims the government initially offered to deport him to Costa Rica if he pled guilty to the smuggling charges.
A person accused of attacking a group of ICE officers was released after allegedly damaging a vehicle and threatening officers. Fox's Christina Coleman.
Dozens of protesters rallied outside of San Francisco's federal court building waiting for the release of a person who DHS identified as Adrian Guerrero, a U.S. citizen who federal officials say assaulted ICE officers and threatened law enforcement by saying, quote, "I'm going to go after your family and I'm going to stab you." Guerrero, who identifies as a woman and goes by the name Angie, was charged with assault and destruction of federal property after allegedly slashing the tire of a government vehicle. DHS says it happened on Wednesday when a group of about 15 to 20 anti-ICE rioters in San Francisco assaulted, grabbed, punched, and pepper sprayed ICE agents. Guerrero was later granted bail and surrounded by supporters after being released.
DHS says ICE agents face a 1,000% increase in assaults. America is listening to Fox News.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Tonight, mainly clear with some clouds. The low will be 55. Monday brings mostly sunny skies, breezy conditions, and pleasant weather with a high of 71. Tomorrow night stays clear and cool, dipping to 54. Tuesday will be mostly sunny and nice, reaching a high of 73. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
The American military brings together brave men and women from across the country who have chosen to answer the call when their country needs them most. At aviatorfuel.com, we know the military because we live the military life. With books written by a Navy pilot and run by a hardworking military spouse, aviatorfuel.com is proud of our service and our country. That's why we never compromise on authenticity. Our cocktail books are modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. But instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito. From classic recipes to military specials like the Queen of Battle or the Afterburner, our cocktail books have something special for every veteran. So go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
Hey AM 560 listeners, Jeff checking in again from jeffbuysyourhouse.com. What I learned serving our great nation in the military is that every mission is unique and success starts with listening. For nearly 20 years, our veteran-led house buying team has taken the time to understand what matters most to each homeowner we serve. Every home has a story and every seller has different needs. Whether you want a quick closing or need extra time to find your next place, we customize our approach around what works best for you. That's how we've earned hundreds of 5-star Google reviews and an A+ rating with the BBB, by putting relationships first. No repairs needed, no cleanout required, and you pick the closing date that works best for your schedule. At jeffbuysyourhouse.com, we're here to help you through the entire transition, not just the transaction. Are you ready to work with a local team that takes the time to understand your home selling needs? Sell your house to the trusted source by calling us today at 630-895-9530. That's 630-895-9530 or jeffbuysyourhouse.com.
Is cremation an option you're considering for you or your loved one? At Catholic cemeteries, we offer sacred, permanent places of rest where loved ones can be remembered, prayed for, and visited for generations. Too often, cremated remains are brought home, only to end up in closets, basements, or forgotten on shelves. Memorialization is forever. Honor their life. Preserve your legacy. Visit us today at CatholicCemeteryChicago.org to schedule a free consultation or call 708-236-5490.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
AM 560, The Answer. If we want to preserve our constitutional republic, we need an informed and educated citizenry. And that's what this show is all about. Find out what's really happening. It's time to stop the lies and learn the truth. This is The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Thanks for joining me tonight. Thanks for everybody for listening in. The phone number here is 312-642-5600. If something that we're talking about sparks a question or a comment, go ahead, call on in, and we'll try and fit you in to get some feedback about the topic. Well, this is a topic that I know. I spend a lot of time on it. I like to talk about it, but it's really important. And the reason we're going to cover again this topic so quickly after having talked about it, I think just 2 weeks ago, is because there was an unbelievable, and I'm shocked that they actually followed through and held a hearing. But the Illinois State Senate finally held a hearing on Monday about energy. And now I think that their intent was to essentially talk to a number of the stakeholders in energy in the state of Illinois about the impact of Trump's one big, beautiful bill on their particular facet of the energy sector. I actually think it backfired on them. If you listen to the entire 3 hours of hearing, I think what you'll find is that our energy problems right now stem from the bad policies coming out of the Pritzker administration. I think that's what you'll find. But there was a lot of other really informative portions of this hearing. Well, we had on the Republican side, minority spokesperson on the Energy and Public Utilities Committee in the Illinois Senate is Terri Bryant. Terri Bryant is, I start out in the House. I served with her. It's for a couple of years, and actually 4 years. And then she's moved on over to the Senate. She is from Southern Illinois. And she's really smart and savvy about this issue. It's something that she understands quite differently maybe than people up here because they're in the Ameren territory. And we're going to get a little bit more into some other issues with Terri, too, that we're interested in, mainly drugs that we find in the prisons, Madigan sentencing coming up. Those are all very interesting topics to both of us. So, Terri, thanks a lot for joining me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
I had a little glitch. Okay. And I love your, I'm going to call it your walk-up music. That was pretty good music.
Oh, thank you. You're also the assistant Republican leader, so good job getting into leadership in the Senate. That's awesome.
Thank you. I think it's, like you, I'm not easily pushed around. So I think it was, I believe it was an excellent and wise choice by Leader Curran.
Yes, it was. I agree. So I thought one of the more important things, because everybody assumes sort of that we're an energy export, and in the PJM territory, they did say that, yeah, we do export energy, and it usually goes to other states and stuff like that. We export our energy, but that is not true in Ameren. And I just want to play this clip. This is Matt Tomik, Tomc. He was with Ameren, and here's what he said. It's just a short clip, but take a listen.
Strongly in the category of an importer downstate Illinois. I talked to my team the other day. 80% of our power needs are met through importation into our zone at this point in time. And I think, Senator, a lot of that is driven, by retirements of facilities that we've seen in recent years, a lot of older generating units, fossil fuel predominantly. Downstate Southern Illinois was a coal producing part of the country, right? And so as those plants have retired, you've seen a gap emerge and some tight supply situation emerge. Now, investments made to the transmission system.
Okay, so he went on to another topic there. But Terry, when you heard that, did you know that Ameren Territory imports 80% of its energy?
Yeah. Well, we were beginning to suspect that. That was the first time that I actually heard some numbers used, and it was really kind of especially interesting to me know those numbers, but to also know I represent an area now that has massive commercial solar facilities. So 1,500 acres in one plot, and then next to it another 1,500. One place has basically leases for 4,500 acres of solar, and that solar energy is actually being exported to Missouri. So while solar is being exported for whatever reason and taking up outstanding farmland, we're actually importing the reliable, affordable baseload energy that we need. And that's creating supply and demand issues, not just in Southern Illinois, but I just got back from Canada, where the Midwest legislators were meeting from both the U.S. and Canada, and everybody is complaining about it, whether it's PJM or whether it's MISO, whether it's the U.S. or Canada. So it's a huge problem all over.
So a lot of the discussion also did with solar, because a number of the solar business folks, the people who sell solar, residential, rooftop, some smaller commercial solar projects, they were all complaining because when the tax credits go away, they've already projected that they're going to lose 20% of their business. They have people pulling out of contracts. They're laying off 20% of their workforce to match that reduction in contracts going forward. And I got to tell you, though, CEJA, the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, it really seems to be more about jobs than it is about anything. I want to, before we go further, I want to play this clip. This is my favorite clip of all of them. It's Steve Goreham, which we're going to hear later in this program, too, because he was... Well, we'll talk about that in a minute, but this is his clip about CEJA, calling it just a jobs program. He really puts it into perspective.
Another example, Tesla, Elon Musk's Tesla is a leading provider of solar systems and grid-scale batteries. But they just built the Colossus XAI supercomputer facility in Memphis, Tennessee, and they put in 35 on-site gas turbines to power it. They didn't use solar and they didn't use batteries. And Colossus has been built and expanded to 200,000 graphics processing units. It was built in only 6 months. But this is an example of what is going on around the country. So what you do with solar in Illinois is really going to have zero effect. Unless it's just a jobs program, that's fine. But it's probably going to raise your power rates.
When you heard that, what was your reaction?
Well, Jeannie, the issue is there's very few jobs that solar creates. Mm-hmm. There are some jobs when they're putting in these commercial solar sites. There are a few jobs, 1 or 2 or 3 maybe, that have to monitor the solar facility. I'll give you an example in Baldwin, Illinois, which is in Randolph County, deep southern Illinois. Baldwin Power Plant was scheduled to close in 2025. They've been given 2 extra years. They're going to take about 100 employees from there, and it'll come down to about 12 in the end. So the jobs that are being performed are those jobs where someone does put it on your house, or where they're manufacturing some solar panels, but we're not even manufacturing the solar panels in the U.S. It's pie in the sky. Yep. So solar and wind can't stand on its own weight. It only stands because of the subsidies. And to your point a little bit earlier, which was this committee was really about bashing the one big beautiful bill, but I don't think we gave them the opportunity, meaning having Steve on there and myself and a couple other Republicans that chimed in, I don't think that the Democrats were able to accomplish what they wanted to accomplish, and that was to say bad, bad Trump and good, good solar. I just don't think it worked because it doesn't stand on its own weight.
Yes, even the environmentalists that were on this, I think Sarah Walkus is one of them. There was another lady, and all they said was essentially like, without the credits, we can't do solar. So if your product depends on credits from the taxpayers, that you don't really have a product that's saleable. If your business model depends on government subsidies, you don't really run a for-profit business.
Well, that's right. And what I'd hoped would have talked a little more about if it was a legitimate hearing would have been the fact that with the environmentalists taking coal offline, and now even in 2035, the peaker plants have to come offline. So we're talking about really affordable, clean energy in natural gas, evidenced by what Steve said with the facility in, I think it's Memphis, Tennessee. We are going to be in a position where China and the U.S. are going to be vying for who is the leader moving forward when it comes to data centers and AI. We cannot be a leader in the world if we're going to be depending on wind and solar because it's not reliable baseload energy. We need nuclear, natural gas, and some coal until we're able to move in, give us some time to get some nuclear facilities or additional natural gas plants online. But with the Trump administration's plan to nearshore some manufacturing and this adjustment of AI, we're going to have a terrible supply and demand issue in the very, very near future. We're already starting to see it now.
So the market monitor for PJM territory, that Joe Bowring, he was very good. And then you also had ComEd, who was there talking about it. And essentially, though, anybody who was really at that expert level, they all made mention that the data centers need to bring their own energy with them. They are the ones who are being they're sucking off the energy off the thing. There's no way to supply them with the electricity that they need. They must bring their own energy. They were adamant about it. They have to have their own facility with them. And that's why Elon Musk is building natural gas, not solar.
Yeah, because it's affordable and it is clean and it's reliable. You're going to have it 24/7.
Yeah.
When I left the conference in Canada, I went the following week to Boston, and one of the largest conversations there really had to do with PJM. PJM is significant in Illinois, even though I live in the MISO region. PJM is Chicago. And while we've been shouting for 2 years, 3 years now about what's happening in the MISO region, no one in the PJM area really cared because Chicago was getting the energy they needed. Well, now you have all these data centers going online in Virginia. So Maryland, who is spending hundreds of millions, even into the billions of dollars on transmission lines, expecting that they're going to have affordable energy coming off of the PJM grid, are now basically being told that these data centers are taking up most of the energy. So Maryland is calling Virginia the energy sucker of the world. So it is. I think the first time in Chicago that someone goes to turn on their lights and they don't come on, or we're in one of these 100-degree days or below zero days in the winter, and someone's heat goes out or their air goes out. Now, still we have some hot summer still to come. Then all of a sudden, the folks in Chicago are going to be running around with their hair on fire, yelling that the sky is falling, when we've been telling them this for several years now.
Yeah, I think it's all going to come to a head, and there's no way that they're actually going to shut down natural gas in the state of Illinois. Nobody is retrofitting their house at the cost of $50,000 to electrify their dryer, their stove, their heating. Nobody's doing that. These guys are insane. Hey, Terri, would it be okay if we hold you over just a really short break? And I want to get to the DOC issue. Okay, this is The Real Story. We'll be right back.
Summer is all about making great memories. Boy, I love getting out on the boat. I admit that one of my little joys in life is to get on a boat and ride around on Tampa Bay. But if you're living with pain, those future memories can be stolen from you. Here's a thought. Try Relief Factor. Let's see if we can get you out of pain. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free daily supplement designed to help your body fight pain. It's a doctor-developed formula made of natural ingredients. The best part of all, Relief Factor never masks the pain. It helps reduce or even eliminate it for good. Whether it's doing what I do, whether it's kayaking on a lake, running around with the little ones, or just chilling in the hammock with a good book, Relief Factor can help you feel better, move better, and do more of the things you love all summer long. So if you're ready to reclaim your summer and make some amazing memories, head over to ReliefFactor.com or give them a call at 800-4-RELIEF. 800-4-RELIEF. Do it now and get their 3-week quick start for just $19.95. That number again, 1-800-4-RELIEF. 800-4-RELIEF. Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Right installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you, and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right, we're right back here with State Senator, Illinois Republican Terri Bryant. And Terri and I served together for a few years down there, and we both served under Mike Madigan. And guess what? August 8th, in case you missed it, the judge denied ex-Speaker Madigan's request to remain out of prison during his appeal. He is sentenced to 7.5 years, and he is supposed to report to prison on October 13th. I actually never thought that this day would come, but it looks like it's going to be here, and it looks like he's going to prison.
Yeah, who would have thought it just several years ago?
Mm-hmm.
I remember people saying here, "Oh, he'll never do prison time," and I'm like, "Well, I think he will." If you remember, just a few years ago, the Speaker of the House in New York, I think they investigated him for well over 3 years, and he got 20 years in prison. And when it's federal time, I believe you have to do 85% of the time. And I would not expect, in his case, that you would see any kind of relief coming from the Trump administration on a pardon or a commutation of a sentence. So I think he's going to jail, and I think he's going to do 85% of that.
Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, he's an old man, and he could end up not coming out. Who knows? That's for God to decide, not us, obviously. Yep. But you know what? He's not typically going to probably a jail that we in Illinois. It's going to be what, Club Fed?
Yeah, probably. I mean, if he goes to one in Illinois, it would be like the one that's in. There's 2 prisons in Marion. There's the one that everybody knows of that was the Supermax. It's now a medium. But there's also the one that Pete Rose went to in the Marion area. I think it's still open. I don't really keep track of the federal facilities the way I do the Illinois Department of Corrections. But I don't care who you are or where you go. Prison is not a nice place to be.
Well, you would know not because you've been there, but because you have been there, because you were there. Yeah. You worked for the prison system before you became a state rep, so you're very familiar with the prison systems. And you wanted to talk tonight about the drug issues in the prisons. And why don't you just tell us a little bit more about that? I don't really know what's going on, so I'm appreciative of your expertise.
Well, thank you. I'm retired after 20 years in the Department of Corrections. I was an internal and external auditor, which means I did inspections besides my regular job with corrections. Mm-hmm. So I speak the language, and sometimes the language can get convoluted with people. The ones that run the Department of Corrections like to spin everybody in all directions, and Fortunately, they're not able to do that with me. But what we've seen is in almost every facility in Illinois, they have drug exposures going on. Now, when I retired from corrections 12 years ago, you'd maybe see a little marijuana here or there. You would never see cocaine, heroin, ecstasy. Right now, we're seeing massive amounts of fentanyl. What the department is trying to do is say that they can't. They test the drugs when, like at Menard, for instance, 12 staff went out on an exposure, undetermined drug origin. Well, that's because it's K2. And K2 is made up of about 5 different drugs. The inmate chemists, or the chemists on the street that sell to the inmates, if you're able to determine what to test for in those drugs, they just change the components a little bit. So I started investigating myself. I went to 10 different institutions, all the way from deep southern Illinois, where I am, up to Dixon, over to Pontiac, all the way to Lawrence. We visited, like I said, 10 different institutions. And then we started doing some FOIAs. Of course, the Department of Corrections refuses the FOIAs, so we had to appeal to the Attorney General's office for information. We've been able to determine just in 24 and 25, 9 inmate deaths of fentanyl alone. So I asked my staff to concentrate on fentanyl because the department can't argue whether that drug was there or not. We have a mother of an offender who has offered to give us a death certificate so we can prove that it was fentanyl. But I've been working with some local coroners and getting as much documentation as we have. There's no way to hide from this, and the Department of Corrections is covering it up in a massive cover-up.
Has this been a problem once Pritzker got in office, or has this always been a problem, or has the problem gotten worse?
Well, there's been some amount of it always. Like I said, it was usually something like a little bit of marijuana. Maybe once in a while, some cocaine would be smuggled in. That's all very serious. But what we're seeing right now is one offender, when I went to Dixon, because they had all the windows open trying to clean everything out, and one offender whispered to me, "You should come in here about 6 o'clock in the evening. It looks like purple haze in here." So now I'm getting letters from offender families, who's saying that their loved ones are saying, "Please get me out of here because I can't live in here with the cellie that I have." So their cellmate is smoking dope all day, every day, and then it causes other offenders to get exposed. So there is a mindset in Illinois where there's not as much people don't seem to be as concerned if it's a staff member. They chose the job. They get paid a lot of money and so forth. I disagree with that. But on the other hand, if you are someone who really cares about the people who are being given into the stewardship of the state of Illinois, you care about their lives, they're dying all over the state, and no one is saying a word about it. Even the offender organizations, the ones that are supposed to be, they're safeguards, the ones that are supposed to come and say, "Hey, you can't treat these inmates like this," they're ignoring it as well. So I've had a huge push to try to electronically scan mail because there's a lot of these drugs going in through the mail. We know that it's happening. Of course, there is inmate families. There are bad staff, just like any business. You can have good staff, bad staff. There's some staff that are bringing them in. There's volunteers, but we attack each thing one at a time and get this stopped. Right now, it's the electronic scanning of mail. DOC doesn't want to do it. Offender organizations don't want anyone to do it, and it would stop a huge part of the drugs that are inside the facilities. And the Pritzker administration absolutely does not want to do it. They seem to have the most incompetent, higher-level staff that I've seen in my 30 years of being involved with the Department of Corrections.
Well, I just think their staff overall is very arrogant as well. So do you think that they're having this problem down in the Supermax in El Salvador?
No, I don't think so.
No. I think maybe we could learn something from them.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate you bringing this topic up because it's not something that I've covered before, and it's important. I mean, taxpayers beware, right? Because, if somebody dies fentanyl overdose just from exposure, taxpayers could be on the hook for a lawsuit.
Oh, they're already on the hook right now because I know some inmates are going to sue for depraved indifference.
Yeah.
Because the agency knows they're doing very little to curb this. And I honestly don't want the taxpayers to be on the hook for it, but they're good. They are on the hook for it because we have a responsibility as the stewards of them while they're incarcerated. We have to make sure that they're safe. And right now, people are not safe in the Illinois Department of Corrections due to all of the all of these drug exposures.
Well, Terri, we got to leave it right there. I've got a hard break. Okay. I want to thank you so much for joining me on The Real Story. Terri Bryant, State Senator, Southern Illinois.
My pleasure.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Join John Anthony, host of Black and Right, for a cruise on Lake Michigan, Saturday, September 6th. Come aboard the luxury yacht Free Spirit for a fun afternoon with fellow AM 560 listeners. Enjoy great food and beverages and be a part of the live broadcast of Black and Right with John Anthony. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cruise. That's 560theanswer.com/cruise.
A chaotic scene on the University of South Carolina tonight as false reports of an active shooter spread.
The dude came out the building running saying there's an active shooter, and so we just started running, and then I jumped in a bush just to find cover.
Police have given the all clear. Villanova University had 2 fake shooter reports this past week. Maryland Governor Wes Moore says his state does not need the National Guard to fight crime as President Trump calls for more National Guard troops to head to more cities.
Now, Missouri Senator Eric Schmidt says he welcomes federal support and more officers in the city of St. Louis, which, of course, has the highest murder rate in the country.
That's Fox's Lucas Tomlinson reporting. America's listening to Fox News.
It's Reveille. When Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker signs a law that is first in the nation, you can bet it's a disaster. Pritzker is making national news again for his law that mandates schools provide universal annual mental health screenings for public school children in 3rd through 12th grades. This is a costly and dangerous policy. These screenings aren't new. According to the State Board of Education, universal mental health screening is already happening in 28% of school districts, but nobody seems to be aware of that. So the first thing parents should do is find out whether or not their school is already screening for mental health. Numerous experts have weighed in, from Dr. Leonard Sachs to researcher Abigail Schreier, with a common concern that universal screening will overdiagnose, misdiagnose, and suggest mental illness in young children where none exists. The law is not in full effect until next year, so parents should confront their school boards now and ask them to refuse to implement the law or use their power to repeal it. But before they speak up, parents should know they are in for a fight. The taxpayer-funded Illinois Association of School Boards supported the bill. The other education associations were silent on it. Obviously, the educrats don't want to rock Pritzker's boat. They should know that the entire education bureaucracy is opposed to parental control of education. The elitists think all aspects of your child's development are within their power to control. When CTU President Stacey Davis Gates said, CTU thinks your children are its children, yes, we do, she wasn't lying. She was bragging about their power. The same bureaucracy that supports the transgender lie and bought into the COVID masks and lockdowns and only educates 1/3 of Illinois children to proficiency cannot be trusted to screen for something as critical as your child's mental health. Parents must flood their school boards with emails and comments or face the consequences. I'm Jeannie Ives. Join me on Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. on this station and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. MyPillow is offering the Classic Collection for wholesale prices. Only $19.98 for a standard MyPillow. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer the entire Classic Collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $24.98. Upgrade to king size for only $29.98. Get the body pillows for $39.98 and the multi-use My Pillows for only $12.98. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing and receive $100 in free digital gifts when your order is $75 or more. That's right. Get the standard My Pillow for only $19.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Crosscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Crosscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Hey, heard you're getting ready to move.
We just listed our house on the market.
Just make sure you have the right attorney.
Doesn't the real estate agent take care of all that?
They stay involved, but you want to make sure you have a great lawyer that's negotiating the terms, helping resolve inspection items, clearing up title issues, preparing the deed and other documents, and attending the closing.
The attorneys at Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village have decades of experience handling real estate transactions every day all over Chicagoland. NALawGroup.com.
The Real Story with Jeannie Ives continues on AM 560. The Answer.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for joining me again tonight. Let's get right to it because there's always so much to discuss, and we only have 2 hours to do it. So we're going right back to energy, and with me is Steve Goreham. He's the executive director of the Climate Science Coalition of America and author of 4 books on energy, climate change, sustainable development, and public policy, with over 100,000 copies in print. His latest book is Green Breakdown: The Coming Renewable Energy Failure. And that book title nearly got him kicked off the hearing on Monday before the Illinois State Senate Energy and Public Utilities Committee. You see, the way this got set up is we found out that they were going to have this hearing. And so I talked to Terri Bryant, who you just heard from, and I said, we have an expert who really deserves to be on this panel. If you're going to talk about energy, he's a U of I grad, he's an Illinois resident, and he's an expert. And apparently they checked out Steve, saw the title of his book, The Coming Renewable Energy Failure, and they didn't want to hear from him. They were like, no, he can't be on the panel. But you know what? They acquiesced, and in the end, he was on the panel, and he was the very last speaker after a 3-hour hearing. But he was the most informative. He really, you heard that clip before, Steve, just so you know, I played him your Tesla clip, which I thought was so informative. You basically said what everybody was thinking. CEJA is just a jobs program because even Tesla that builds solar and batteries isn't using solar and batteries at their plant in Memphis. It was so perfect. What was your impression, Steve? I mean, I don't think that you've testified before any Illinois committee before. What was your impression of the whole thing? And I know this was remote. It wasn't in person, but still.
Hi, Jeannie. Great to join you. Yeah, not for a long time. I think I did something about 10 years ago, but it was an interesting meeting. It was interesting to learn what was going on. There were quite a few senators there, and there were solar groups, and there were electric power companies, environmental groups, and industry and labor, many of them talking about things. And so I sat for a long time, and I think you were listening as well. And then I threw a few in there as kind of the minority guy, but it was an interesting thing. But the main thing was to first complain about the one big beautiful bill that was passed by Congress, where Mr. Trump and the Congress have cut all the the investment tax credits and production tax credits for wind and solar, that sort of thing. And then also talks about how electricity rates are going up in Illinois. They're actually still pretty low. But we had a number of companies talking about solar and how solar and batteries were this and solar and batteries were that. And so one of the first things I mentioned when I got on was, I said to them, you all know that according to the U.S. Department of Energy, and these are accurate numbers, that solar, commercial solar is less than 1% of the electricity in Illinois. You do understand that, right?
They didn't want to believe you, though. They did not want to believe you.
No, they didn't. And it's a little bit higher than that because people have rooftop solar, but it's still very small. The commercial solar is 54% nuclear, about 18% natural gas, coal about 15%, wind 13%, and solar isn't even on the chart. And the other thing I talked about with them, and I said, well, you have these green initiatives that the state wants to happen by 2040 and 2050, but they're just not going to have any effect globally. They are so small. I pointed out that we have operating 6,500 coal-fired power plants around the world and another 1,000 in planning or under construction. Coal provides 35% of the world electricity. So what they do in Illinois is not going to have any effect globally. And then even in the United States, we have this artificial intelligence revolution going on where people are building data centers, all the big guys, Meta and Google and Microsoft and others. And what they're doing is they're putting in all these gas-fired power plants. They're not putting in wind and solar because it takes too long, and you got to build transmission out to remote areas. And I gave the example of Texas. Texas now is planning more than 100 gas-fired power plants. It's 108 new plants and 17 plant expansions to try and serve these data centers. And when they get done in 4 or 5 years, they're going to produce 3 times the power of all the wind systems in Texas that have been built over the last 20 years. And Texas is the biggest wind state in the United States. So what's going on with AI and building all these gas plants and then building nuclear as well is just dwarfing all the tiny efforts in Illinois and even California to build wind and batteries and solar. It's just very, very small. But that is the new reality, despite all the testimony.
Well, I thought it was interesting that you had ComEd and Ameren there. They, of course, are regulated utilities, and so they kind of keep an even keel when they're in these hearings. And they say stuff, and you can pick up on their nuances, but if you're not really paying attention and you don't understand the issue, it'll pass you by because they won't speak to the problem directly. But certainly they all did admit that the AI and the data centers are gobbling up the energy, and that is a big concern, and that supplying them is going to be difficult. Joe Boring, who was more like a market analyst for PJM, he was very direct, saying this only solution really is for these data centers to come equipped with their own supply of power. And that's why you have, I guess, Elon Musk putting in natural gas down in Tennessee and not his own solar and batteries that he builds.
Yeah, I was going to mention Mr. Boring because he had a real note that was, very realistic. He basically said you can't replace baseload power plants, nuclear, coal, and gas with solar and batteries. You just can't do it. So he was very direct on that. He was with PJM Interconnect, which is the biggest independent market interconnect company in the nation. And so he was very on the nose with that. But you're right. What happened in Tesla built their, I think it was Colossus XAI system near Memphis, and they did it in 6 months. Really remarkable. Over 200,000 graphics processors connected to the network. And Tesla, of course, is a battery and a solar company, but that's not what they use to power it. They used 35 gas turbines because it was the only way they could get them done fast enough. And so that's what's happening around the country. We have people building these gas systems to power all these different things, rather than, and the renewables people are just really complaining about this in Illinois and California and other places.
Yeah. So I mean, I actually am thankful that they had the hearing. I think it's sort of backfired with them, especially your comments, Boering's comments. Certainly, Mark Denzler of the Illinois manufacturers, he was very negative about the direction that they're taking with power. His people are seeing thousands of dollars of price increases. And the environmentalists, the people that put in solar, they literally said, if you listened carefully, they said, we cannot, our business does not operate without tax credits. Okay.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's right. Then you don't really have a business plan.
No, you don't.
No. So, another thing that you brought up is recently that the EPA released a proposal to rescind the Obama-era endangerment finding and regulations. And so this is going to essentially rid us of the electrical vehicle mandates that car manufacturers are under. Can you explain that a little bit more? And then I want to go through some numbers.
Yeah, so the EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin announced he would be proposing to repeal the 2009 endangerment finding, which was an EPA finding on greenhouse gases, when the EPA said that carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases were endangering citizens in the United States. And so he's going to have a big rulemaking on that. And there was just a paper produced for Chris Wright, at the head of the Department of Energy, by 5 renowned scientists that basically said that the fears about man-made warming were wrong. So the EPA is going to use that. But that endangerment finding is the basis for calling carbon dioxide a pollutant, which just should not be occurring. And the basis for many, many laws. You talked about transportation, but power plants and everything else. Matter of fact, Zeldin says, I'll quote him, he says, where is that? There are people who, in the name of climate change, are willing to bankrupt the country. He said they created this endangerment finding, and then they're able to put all these regulations on vehicles, on airplanes, on stationary sources, he means power plants, to basically regulate out of existence, in many cases, a lot of segments of our economy, and it costs Americans a lot of money. So this is going to be a huge fight for the next 2 years. I predict it's going to end up in the Supreme Court. And I think Zeldin's going to win because the EPA in 2009 pretty much overstepped their authority. The Clean Air Act said that they could reduce pollutants, but it never mentioned greenhouse gases, and it never mentioned carbon dioxide. And those things were not mandated by Congress. So I think it is going to be overturned.
Well, that's great. But I mean, not before a lot of damage has already been done, is going to continue to be done, because this is exactly why we have the energy policy in Illinois that we have, because all those Democrats down there bought this hook, line, and sinker, and some Republicans did as well. And maybe they had their doubts, but it didn't matter. They weren't willing to stand up against the green lobby and speak truth on this situation. And that's the problem we have. Now, one thing that I hope is going to fall, and I think this is already in effect, maybe I'm wrong about that, but is the EV tax credits are different. I mean, they were probably put in place for this purpose ideologically, but they're a separate thing. They don't have to be litigated. They're just going to go away, correct?
Yes. Yeah, there's a couple angles on that. First, the big, beautiful bill eliminates the EV tax credits, which are $7,500 for a new electric vehicle, $4,000 for a used one. Those are gone at the end of September. That's 5 weeks away. And so that's going to impact the market. And actually, a lot of people are trying to get EVs right now to get the credit before it goes away. But there's also another side to this, and that are the waivers that the EPA has granted to states like California and other states that allow them to do their own pollution rules. According to the 1970 Clean Air Act, the EPA and the federal government were responsible for pollution and regulations, and the states were not. But the act also said that the EPA could grant waivers to the states where they had regulations that were more stringent than the federal ones. And California has received over 100 waivers in the last 30 years. But in June, the Congress struck that down at Mr. Trump's push. And so all of these laws on vehicles saying that you have to have 100% electrics by 2035 or 2040, those have no legal basis anymore. Those are all shot down. So really, really a big, big change. And people, I think, are going to be able to buy the car they want. If they want an EV, they can get one. If they want a gas car, they can get one. But states will no longer be able to force people to buy an EV. By the way, I should say California is challenging this strike down of the laws, but I don't think they're going to win.
Yeah, of course they are. Why not? I mean, they have all those lawyers teed up that are paid for by taxpayers, and they might as well just put them to work by challenging laws that are stupid to begin with. But on that thing, and I want to bring 2 points up. One, Rivian's already complaining about this because they would sell these credits for being carbon free to other auto manufacturers so that I could buy a F-150. And then they could have an offset for this because every car manufacturer was told that they had to have so many credits for
credits, right? Yeah, if they weren't producing EVs, they had to buy credits from the guys who were. Yeah, and this was worth over $10 billion to Tesla over the last 6 years. They got $10 billion from selling credits, and that is now all disappearing. Most of us were from the California law, so it is a big, big change, and it's going to impact some of these EV companies. Well,
the other thing that it'll impact is Pritzker's not going to get his 1 million. I want 1 million. Like, he just pulled it out of the air. Like, I don't know where he came from. I want 1 million EVs in Illinois by 2030. Well, July 2025, we have 145,000. That's it. 145,000, and the growth in the number year over year is declining every year.
Yep, EV's actually lost share from the December and January of last year. They were about 8%. Now they're 7% in June. They're going to go up a little as everybody scrambles to buy them, but by the end of the year, their share will be lower, probably about 5 or 6% of the U.S. market, but not anywhere near what people were predicting.
Well, when CEJA passed, we had 31,912. We now have 145,000. I'm sorry, you're never going to hit 1 million, but hey. Well, hey, we got to leave it there. I want to thank you so much for joining me, Steve Goreham. He's an amazing guy, and you can, let's see, Steve, tell people where they can get more information. What's your website again?
Yeah, they ought to go to it's Steve Goreham, GOREHAM.com. I'll send them signed copies of my books if they buy one. Green Breakdown is a color paperback, and it's got 150 colored sidebars as well as the science and economics. Here's one of those. A Swedish scientist advocates eating humans to combat climate change. This is not made up. This is a real story. He would give these presentations, and then he'd ask people at the end if they were willing to try human flesh. So it's got a lot of funny things in it as well as the real story.
Well, and I highly recommend that my listeners buy that book and give it to your science teacher in high school. All right. Thanks so much, Steve, for joining me on The Real Story.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Great. We'll be right back.
Local hospitals are the heartbeat of our communities, delivering critical care every hour of every day for everyone, training the next generation of caregivers. Beyond the walls, their benefit to the community is everywhere, driving the local economy and supporting local organizations, initiatives, and neighbors. Illinois Hospitals, healing communities. Learn more at team-iha.org. Sponsored by the Illinois Health and Hospital Association. Aired in cooperation with the Illinois Broadcasters Association and this station.
When it comes to industrial coating and finishing, cutting corners isn't an option. That's why leading manufacturers across the Midwest trust D&D Industrial Coatings in Racine, Wisconsin. From powder coating and liquid painting to blasting and custom finishing, D&D Industrial delivers top-tier protection and performance, fast, precise, and built to last. With over 40 years of experience, ISO-certified processes, and state-of-the-art lines, D&D handles everything from OEMs and petrochemical to agriculture, marine, construction, medical, and government specs. Family-owned, nationally trusted. Whether it's a short run or high volume, your parts are in expert hands, finished on time and finished right. Visit them today, ddindustrial.net. Again, that's ddindustrial.net. Or call them at 262-637-0686 to get your custom quote today. Again, that's 262-637-0686. D&D Industrial Coatings. Engineered to protect. Finished to impress.
Making the switch to a new communications and IT company may seem like a big ordeal.
But if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs, meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore, Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run, a trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. We'll make the switch easier than you think. Let's talk. Call 800-804-8333 or visit accessoneInc.com. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. That's accessoneInc.com. Tech made personal, locally.
It's more than a backyard. It's a place where lazy afternoons turn into lively evenings, and simple moments become lifelong memories. Right at the center of it all, your deck. The stage for your best moments and everyday magic. But the outdoors can be tough on wood. Fading colors, weathered boards, and hidden damage creeping in. That's why homeowners across Chicagoland trust Deck Tech. For over 35 years, they've specialized in cleaning, restoring, and protecting decks, keeping them strong, stunning, and ready for every season. Deck Tech now offers 0% financing options for 21 months. Give that special someone the break they deserve with a Deck Tech gift card. Call 800-956-DECK today or visit restoreyourdeck.com. Deck Tech, helping Chicagoland homeowners enjoy the great outdoors for over 35 years. Enjoy your deck all season long with Deck Tech, the clean and seal professionals.
1-800-956-DECK. Call Deck Tech.
It was a typical day. You were doing the usual, but then you met up with a friend at Weinstock Market and Lounge in Woodstock. Wow! The small-town charm and turn-of-the-century building set the tone for a classic outing. Their charcuterie pleased your palate like you never imagined. The Chicago beef sandwich made your taste buds dance. And the hand-selected wines from small vineyards around the world, so perfect. All paired with amazing live music. Weinstock Market and Lounge changes your day from ordinary to extraordinary.
Weinstock Market and Lounge, voted McHenry County's best wine shop and best of Fox 2 years in a row. Open Tuesday through Saturday, 3 p.m. till 11 p.m. Live music on weekends. Open mic nights on Tuesdays. Enjoy the fresh baked pizza and Chicago beef sandwiches. Wine favorites from Italy, New Zealand, France, and California. And a full menu of handcrafted cocktails. Plan a trip to Weinstock Market and Lounge on the square in downtown Woodstock. Mention AM 560 and receive 10% off any purchase.
The Real Story with Jeannie Ives continues on AM 560. The Answer.
All right, welcome back. We don't have much time, so we're going to go quickly to this call from Eduardo in Tampa Bay. Eduardo, thank you for listening from afar. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Jeannie. Next time I'll call earlier, but real fast. I am so happy that the troops are coming to Chicago. They got to be ready for the agitators, the outsiders, the anarchists, who will cause trouble, and then it'll get blamed on the aggressive action by the president. So beware of that.
Yeah, no, it's pretty exciting. Trump's going to be cleaning up Chicago. Here's what he said. Listen to
We're
this.
going to make our country very safe. We're going to make our cities very, very safe. Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent. And we'll straighten that one out probably next. That'll be our next one after this.
Oh, my gosh. How about
Music
that?
to my ears, Jeannie, yeah.
Yeah, no, grossly incompetent. I mean, the guy, I mean, I think he's right. So, no, I mean, that was a huge story. We'll see where this goes. I was not able to play all the clips that I had lined up on that one. It was really good. And then another thing that I thought was really good is Benny Johnson. He's kind of a podcaster. He's around. You'll catch him on X and whatever else. He did this whole Trump Tower versus the Obama Center comparison. If I were you, I would grab that YouTube. It's about 10 minutes long, and it does a really nice comparison between the two. So I don't have time to play that clip.
Will do,
but
yes.
It's good. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Have a good week.
Thank you, Eduardo. Thanks for joining me. Well, that's all we have time for tonight. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and mark your calendar. September 25th, we'll be in Orland Park. We're taking our Watchdog on the road. So we're having our first Watchdog Road show, and we'll be talking about corruption wherever we find it, in the places we find it, and hopefully people will start to wake up and pay attention. That's all for the Real Story tonight. We'll see you next week.
Exclusive interviews, bold commentary, and behind-the-scenes insights into stories that the mainstream media won't cover. It's the Unshaken and Unafraid podcast with Joe Pags on the Salem Podcast Network.